The stars looked cold and distant through the viewing window of the KSSS Taeguk. Captain Junho stood with his hands behind his back, watching the endless black space. He had been doing this job for 20 years now, and the void never got less lonely. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," Lieutenant Hana called from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen, her eyes focused and sharp. "It's a transmission, but it's not like anything in our database." Junho walked over to her console. The screen showed waves of sound and light patterns that made no sense at first. "Can you clean it up?" "Working on it now, sir." Hana adjusted the frequencies, filtered out the cosmic noise, and slowly the transmission began to take shape. What came through the speakers made everyone on the bridge stop what they were doing. It was singing. No, not singing exactly. It was more like crying. Musical notes that rose and fell with desperate emotion. Even without understanding the words, everyone could feel the pain in those sounds. "How far did this come from?" Junho asked quietly. "At least 40 light years, sir. The signal is old, maybe 3 months. Whoever sent this has been waiting a long time for an answer." Dr. Minho entered the bridge, drawn by the strange sounds. He was the ship's medical officer, but he also studied alien life. His face showed deep concern as he listened. "That's a distress call. I'm certain of it." Hana worked through the night. She barely ate or slept. The other crew members brought her coffee and food, but she only took small bites between her work. Slowly, piece by piece, she began to understand the alien language. It was based on musical tones, with each pitch meaning something different. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. On the third day, she finally decoded enough to understand the message. Her hands shook as she printed the translation. She walked to the captain's quarters and knocked. Junho was reading reports, but he put them down when he saw her face. "You got it?" "Yes, sir. You need to read this." She handed him the paper. The message was simple but heartbreaking. The Volani people were dying. Their world was being destroyed. An empire called the Korthax had come to their planet with ships and weapons. The Volani had no armies. They had no guns. They were a peaceful people who made art and music and studied the stars. Now their cities were burning. Their children were being taken as slaves. Their resources were being stolen. The message ended with a simple plea. "If anyone can hear us, please help. We are not fighters. We cannot defend ourselves. Please, someone answer." "They sent this to everyone," Hana said softly, broadcasting in all directions, hoping someone, anyone, would care enough to respond. Junho felt something heavy settle in his chest. "Has anyone answered them?" "I checked the Galactic Council communications. There's a file on this situation." She pulled up another document on her tablet. The Council voted not to intervene. They called it a territorial dispute. They said the Korthax have a legal claim to that region of space. "Legal claim?" Junho's voice was hard. "What about the people already living there?" The Council decided it wasn't worth starting a conflict with the Korthax Empire. They're too powerful, too important economically. Some council members said the Volani should have built defenses if they wanted to keep their world. Junho stood and walked to his window. Earth hung in the distance, a blue and white marble. Beautiful and deadly. Humans had grown up on a world that tried to kill them every day. Storms that could flatten cities, animals that hunted them, diseases that wiped out millions. Earth was classified as a Class 10 death world, one of the most dangerous planets known to support intelligent life. Most species in the galaxy came from gentle worlds, stable climates, few predators. They couldn't understand why humans were built so differently. Stronger bones, faster healing, the ability to keep going when any sane creature would stop. Humans scared them, and fear made them keep humanity at a distance. "We just got into the Galactic Council 5 years ago," Junho said, still looking at Earth. "They don't trust us. They think we're violent, dangerous." "We are dangerous, sir," Hana said quietly. Earth made sure of that. "Yes, but dangerous doesn't mean evil." He turned back to face her. "Set a course for Velis Prime, maximum speed." Hana's eyes went wide. "Sir, the Council said not to interfere. If we go there, there could be consequences. Political consequences. They might kick us out of the Council. They might sanction Earth. Let them. Junho's voice was calm but absolutely certain. I didn't survive Earth's oceans, Earth's predators, and Earth's wars to stand by while innocent people die. Call a ship-wide meeting. Everyone needs to hear this. An hour later, the entire crew of 120 people gathered in the main hall. Junho played the transmission for them. He showed them the translation. He explained what the council had decided. Then he told them his plan. We're going to Velis Prime. We're going to stop the Korthax. I know this isn't our fight by the council's rules. I know this could end our careers. But I also know what it means to be human. We don't leave people to die when we can help them. That's not who we are. He paused and looked at each face in the crowd. Anyone who wants to object can do so now. I'll put it on record. No punishment, no judgment. The room was silent. Then a young engineer named Jiho stood up. Captain, my grandfather always said that the strong should protect the weak. That's what makes us different from animals. I'm with you. One by one, others stood. The entire crew rose to their feet. Dr. Minho was the last to stand. He smiled sadly. We're going to scare the whole galaxy, aren't we? Probably, Junho admitted. But maybe they need to learn something. Maybe they need to see what Deathworlders do when someone needs help. Hana went back to her station and input the new coordinates. The ship's engines hummed louder as they charged up. The Teguk turned away from its patrol route and pointed toward a distant star system 40 light-years away. In the communications room, Hana sent a message back along the same path the distress call had traveled. It was short and simple. Volani people, this is the human ship Teguk. We heard your call. We are coming. Hold on. She didn't know if they would receive it in time. She didn't know if any Volani were still alive to hear it. But she sent it anyway, because hope was sometimes all anyone had. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. The stars stretched into lines. The journey would take 8 days. Junho hoped they wouldn't be too late. He hoped the Volani could survive just a little longer. Behind them, Earth began receiving reports of the Teguk's course change. Alarms went off at United Defense Command. Admiral Yuna was woken in the middle of the night with the news. She read Captain Junho's brief explanation and smiled. Finally, she said to herself, time to show them what we're really made of. She started making calls. By morning, Earth's entire military command would be awake. By afternoon, they would be making plans. The Teguk wasn't going to face this alone. Humanity was going to war. Not for conquest, not for resources, but for something the galaxy had forgotten was worth fighting for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Admiral Yuna stood in the command center in Seoul, looking at the holographic display of the galaxy. Red dots marked Korthax territory. A small blue dot showed where the Teguk was traveling. Another blue dot marked Velis Prime, deep in contested space. Tell me about the Korthax, she said to her intelligence officer. Commander Hyejin pulled up files on the main screen. The Korthax Empire controls 72 star systems, population approximately 40 billion. Their homeworld is Korthax Prime, a low-gravity planet with gentle weather. Very few predators in their evolutionary history. So they're weak? Physically, yes. Compared to humans, they're very fragile. Their bones break easily. They can't handle much pain, but they have numbers and technology. Their fleet has over 10,000 ships. Yuna nodded slowly. And they've never fought Deathworlders? Never. Most species in the galaxy are like the Korthax. They evolved on safe worlds, Class 1 to Class 3 at most. Earth is Class 10. We're an anomaly. The door opened and Colonel Taeho walked in. His uniform was crisp, his eyes alert. He had fought in 15 different conflicts across Earth. He was 34 but looked older. Combat did that to people. You called for me, Admiral? Yes, sit down. We have a situation. Yuna explained what Captain Junho had done. She showed him the Veilani distress call and the intelligence on the Korthax forces. Taeho listened carefully. When she finished, he asked one question. What's our mission? Stop the Korthax, save the Veilani, send a message to the galaxy. What message? Yuna's smile was cold. that humanity doesn't abandon those who need help, and that anyone who preys on the weak will answer to us. Before Taiho could respond, another officer entered. Sora from the diplomatic corps looked worried. She was younger, only 31, and still believed politics could solve everything. Admiral, you can't be serious about military intervention. The Council will see this as aggression. We could be expelled, sanctioned, isolated. I'm aware of the risks, Yuna said calmly. Then why? We've worked so hard to be accepted. We've followed every rule. We've proved we're not the violent savages they think we are. Have we? Yuna turned to face her. Sora, do you know why the Council fears us? Because we're from a death world, because we're physically stronger. No, they fear us because we survived what should have killed us. Every other species that evolved on Class 10 worlds either went extinct or never developed space travel. But humans? We conquered our planet. We turned our weaknesses into strengths. Yuna walked to the window overlooking the city. Earth tried to kill us in 1,000 different ways. Ice ages, droughts, floods, volcanoes, diseases that killed half our population, predators that hunted us. And you know what we did? We adapted, we learned, we became the greatest predators Earth ever produced. She turned back to Sora. The Council wants us to forget that. They want us to be civilized, peaceful, harmless, but sometimes the strong need to protect the weak. That's not violence. That's justice. Sora looked down. I understand, Admiral, but I had to say it. I know, and I respect that, but my decision is made. Yuna turned to Taiho. How many Marines do you need? For what? A quick strike or full liberation? Full liberation. I want the Korthax off that planet permanently. Taiho thought for a moment. 5,000 Marines, 3 dropships, support from the fleet for orbital bombardment if needed. You'll have it. I'm sending 3 battle carriers and 12 frigates. The Taeguk will serve as command ship once you arrive. Timeline? You leave in 6 hours. The fleet will arrive at Velis Prime 2 days after the Taeguk. Junho will scout the situation. You'll plan the assault. Then we hit them hard and fast. Taiho stood and saluted. Yes, ma'am. My Marines will be ready. After he left, Hyejin approached the Admiral. Ma'am, I've been analyzing Korthak's military tactics. They rely heavily on numerical superiority and shield technology. Their weapons are primarily plasma-based, long-range but relatively low power. And our advantage? Everything else. Our kinetic weapons will punch through their shields. Our armor is heavier. Our ships are faster. Our soldiers are stronger, tougher, and can fight longer without rest. If this goes to ground combat, it won't even be close. Yuna pulled up old Earth military files. Videos of human history. Wars fought over thousands of years. Humans shooting, running, climbing, fighting in deserts and jungles and frozen wastelands. Humans surviving injuries that would kill most species. Humans pushing their bodies beyond reasonable limits. Show this to Taiho's Marines, she said. Remind them what we are. Remind them why we're the most dangerous species in the galaxy. 6 hours later, Colonel Taiho stood before 5,000 Marines in the deployment bay. They were young and old, men and women, experienced veterans and fresh recruits. But they all had one thing in common. They were human. Listen up, Taiho's voice carried across the massive room. We're going to a planet called Velis Prime. The people there are peaceful. They never hurt anyone. They have no weapons, no armies, no way to defend themselves. And someone decided that made them easy prey. He pulled up images of the Villani. Tall, thin beings with large eyes and delicate features. They looked fragile, almost childlike. The Korthax Empire invaded their world, killed their people, took their children as slaves, and when the Villani called for help, the Galactic Council did nothing. They called it a territorial dispute and moved on. Murmurs of anger rippled through the crowd. But we're not the Council, we're human. We're from Earth. We're Deathworlders, and we don't leave innocent people to die. He showed them tactical data, Korthax ship designs, weapon specifications, troop numbers. The Korthax think they're powerful. They think numbers and technology make them strong. They're about to learn a hard lesson. They're about to learn what happens when you mess with the weak while Deathworlders are watching. A young private named Doyun raised his hand. Sir, won't we get in trouble with the council? Maybe, probably. But let me ask you something, Private. Would you rather be liked, or would you rather be right? Do-hyun thought for a moment. Right, sir. Good answer. Because being human means making hard choices. It means standing up when others sit down. It means fighting when others run away. Our ancestors survived ice ages. They survived plagues. They survived when 99% of species that ever lived on Earth went extinct. We're here because they never gave up, never stopped fighting. He paused, looking at each face. In 8 days, we arrive at Velis Prime. When we do, the Korthax will see us coming. They'll probably laugh. They'll think we're just another species, just another weak civilization they can push around. His voice dropped lower, harder. Let them laugh, because when we hit them, they'll learn what it means to face Deathworlders in battle. They'll learn that humans don't fight wars for fun. We fight them to win, and we don't stop until the job is done. The Marines roared their approval. The sound echoed off the metal walls like thunder. Taiho dismissed them to their ships. As they filed out, he noticed a young woman standing to the side. Sergeant Gina, one of his best squad leaders. Something on your mind, Sergeant? Sir, do you think the Villani will survive long enough for us to reach them? I hope so, but even if they don't, we're still going. Because the Korthax need to learn that this behavior has consequences. Good, Gina said quietly. I've been training my whole life. Time to put it to use. As the fleet prepared to launch, messages were sent across human-controlled space. Volunteers called in. Medical personnel prepared supplies. Engineers checked weapons and ships. Earth's entire military-industrial complex shifted into high gear. On the Taeguk, Captain Junho received confirmation that help was coming. He felt relief mixed with tension. They were going to start something big. Something that would change how the galaxy saw humanity. Dr. Minho sat in his office, studying Villani biology from the limited data they had. He was already preparing medical protocols. Already thinking about how to treat wounded aliens whose physiology was so different from humans. Lieutenant Hana continued monitoring transmissions from Velis Prime. The signals were getting weaker, more desperate. She could hear cities falling, could hear the Villani crying for help that wasn't coming. She whispered to the screen, "Hold on, just a little longer. We're coming." The human fleet jumped to light speed. 8 days to Velis Prime. 8 days until the galaxy learned what Deathworlders could do when pushed. 8 days until the Korthax Empire made the worst mistake of their existence. The Taeguk dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Velis Prime system. Captain Junho immediately saw the devastation. Korthax ships surrounded the planet like a swarm of insects. Smaller vessels moved back and forth, carrying stolen resources up to massive cargo ships. Count? Junho asked. 217 ships, sir, Hana reported. Her voice was tight. Most are cargo and support vessels, but I'm reading 32 warships, destroyer class. Through the viewing screen, they could see Velis Prime itself. Parts of the planet glowed red where fires burned. Dark patches showed where cities once stood. It made Junho's stomach turn. Any response to our arrival? Yes, sir. A Korthax ship is hailing us. Audio only. Put it through. A voice came through the speakers. It sounded amused, almost bored. The translator converted the alien language to Korean. Unknown vessel, you are in Korthax-controlled space. State your purpose or leave immediately. Junho kept his voice calm and professional. This is Captain Junho of the human vessel Taeguk. We received a distress call from the Villani people. We're here to provide humanitarian assistance. There was a pause. Then laughter. Actual laughter. Humans? The Deathworld species? You're far from home, little ape. This matter doesn't concern you. The Villani are now subjects of the Korthax Empire. Turn around and go back to your little corner of space. Junho felt his crew tensing around him. He held up a hand for calm. The Villani didn't ask to be your subjects. They asked for help. We're providing it. Help? More laughter. You and what fleet? I see one small ship. We have over 200 vessels here. Be smart, human. Leave now, or we'll add your ship to our collection. Junho looked at his tactical officer. How long until our fleet arrives? 43 hours, sir. Too long. He turned back to the communications. Last chance. Release the Villani and leave this system peacefully. The laughter stopped. The voice turned cold. You dare threaten us? Commander Vexhall, who controls this system, has decided you need a lesson in respect. 20 of our destroyers are moving to intercept you. You have one chance to run. Take it. The communication cut off. On the planet's surface, Commander Vexhall watched the display screens with satisfaction. He was tall by Korthak standards, with pale blue skin and large eyes. His species evolved to be intelligent and numerous, not strong. They won through coordination and technology. Should we really engage them, Commander? His second officer asked. The humans are new to the Council, but their Deathworld classification means nothing, Vexhall interrupted. Deathworld just means their planet was dangerous. It doesn't make them special. We have 20 warships. They have one exploration vessel. This will be over in minutes. In space, the 20 Korthax destroyers formed up in a standard attack pattern. They were sleek ships, built for speed and plasma weapons. They moved with confidence toward the lone human vessel. On the Teguk, alarms sounded. Korthax ships entering weapons range in 60 seconds, the tactical officer called out. They're charging plasma cannons. All hands to battle stations, Junho ordered. Raise shields, charge the railguns. Sir, we've never tested our weapons against Korthax shields, Hana said quietly. Then this will be educational. Junho sat in his command chair, hands steady. Weapons free on my mark. Target engines first. I want prisoners, not corpses. The Korthax ships opened fire first. Blue plasma bolts streaked across space, slamming into the Teguk's shields. The ship shook but held. Shields at 87%, Tactical reported. Their weapons are weaker than expected. Our turn. Fire. The Teguk's railguns spoke. They fired solid tungsten rods accelerated to 3% of light speed. The kinetic energy was tremendous. The rounds were designed to punch through armor and shields designed to stop energy weapons. The first round hit a Korthax destroyer dead center. The shield flickered and collapsed instantly. The rod went straight through the ship, destroying its engine section. The destroyer went dark, dead in space. Direct hit, target disabled. Next target, fire. Again and again the railguns fired. Each shot hit with devastating precision. The Korthax shields, built to deflect plasma and lasers, were useless against solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Within 5 minutes, 12 Korthax destroyers were disabled. 3 were destroyed completely when their power cores ruptured. The remaining 5 ships broke formation and ran. On the planet, Vexhall stared at his screens in disbelief. What? How? That's impossible. Commander, their weapons are kinetic, not energy-based. Our shields can't stop them. Our armor is too thin. They're cutting through us like... I can see that, Vexhall's voice was shrill. Send all remaining warships, all of them. Crush that vessel now. Back in space, Junho watched the retreating Korthax ships. Don't pursue. Hold position and recover our breath. Sir, I'm detecting more ships launching from the planet. Looks like 12 more destroyers. Dr. Minho came onto the bridge. Captain, I'm picking up distress signals from the disabled Korthax ships. They have wounded. Permission to launch rescue shuttles? Junho looked surprised. We just disabled those ships, and you want to save them? They're wounded and helpless. Yes, I want to save them. Granted. Take security teams with you. Be careful. As human rescue shuttles approached the crippled Korthax vessels, the Korthax crews panicked. They had heard stories about Deathworlders, savage, violent beings who showed no mercy. They expected to be executed. Instead, human medics boarded with medical supplies and rescue equipment. Dr. Minho personally treated a Korthax captain who had a broken arm from when his ship was hit. Why? The Korthax captain asked, his voice filled with pain and confusion. Why help us? We attacked you. Dr. Minho carefully set the broken bone. Because you're hurt. That's enough reason. The second wave of Korthax ships arrived. They saw the rescue operation happening and hesitated. This wasn't normal warfare. Who stops fighting to save the enemy? Junho opened a communication channel to all Korthax vessels. This is Captain Junho. I don't want to destroy more ships. I don't want more deaths. But I will if I have to. Stand down. Let us evacuate the Vellani people. This doesn't have to continue. The Korthax commander of the second wave was younger than Vexhall, less certain. He looked at his tactical data. One human ship had disabled or destroyed 15 Korthax vessels in 7 minutes, and now they were rescuing the crews. What do we do? His weapons officer asked. The commander thought about his crew, his people. The humans had shown they could kill easily, but they had also shown mercy. Maybe there was a way out of this without more death. Hold position. Do not fire unless fired upon. Back on the planet, Vexhall was screaming into his communicator. I gave you orders. Attack them. Sir, with respect, they've destroyed half our fleet in minutes. They're rescuing our wounded. They're offering to evacuate the Vellani peacefully. Maybe we should… No! The Korthax Empire does not negotiate with Deathworlders. We do not show weakness. He cut the communication and made a decision. If his fleet wouldn't attack, he would use his ground forces. He had 10,000 soldiers on the surface. He would take Vellani hostages, use them as shields. The humans claim to care about the Vellani. Let's see how much. On the Teguk, Lieutenant Hana picked up new signals from the surface. Captain, Korthax ground forces are moving into Vellani population centers. They're taking hostages. Junho's jaw tightened. How long until our fleet arrives? 38 hours. Too long. He stood up. Prepare drop pods. We're going down there. Sir, we have only 120 crew members. The Korthax have thousands of soldiers down there. Junho smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. Then it'll be a fair fight. On the surface, Elder Leary huddled with the remaining Vellani survivors in what was left of their capital city. There were maybe 5,000 Vellani left alive out of a population of millions. They were weak, starving, terrified. Korthax soldiers surrounded them now, weapons pointed at children, families held at gunpoint. Leary sang a soft, sad song. It was a prayer in her language, a hope that someone, somewhere, would hear them. Then she heard something, a sound from the sky, like thunder but different. She looked up. 40 pods fell from space, leaving trails of fire behind them. They hit the ground hard, sending up clouds of dust. Doors opened with hydraulic hisses. Humans emerged. They were tall by Vellani standards, built solid and strong. They wore armor that looked impossibly heavy. They carried weapons that seemed too large for any reasonable being to wield. They moved with purpose and precision. Sergeant Gina was among the first out. She had been on the Teguk's Marine complement. Only 40 Marines, but they would have to be enough. She saw the Korthax soldiers holding Vellani civilians at gunpoint. Non-lethal if possible, she ordered her squad, but protect the civilians first. The Korthax soldier nearest to her raised his weapon. Gina moved. To the Korthax, she seemed impossibly fast. She crossed 10 meters before he could fully aim. She grabbed his weapon, crushed the barrel with her armored hand, and pushed him down. He fell hard, the wind knocked out of him, and stayed down. All around the plaza, similar scenes played out. Humans moved through Korthax soldiers like they weren't even there. The Korthax were fragile, evolved on a gentle world. Humans were not. Even without trying to kill, humans were overwhelming. One Korthax soldier managed to fire his plasma rifle at a human. The bolt hit the Marine's armor and scorched it. The Marine looked down at the burn mark, then back at the soldier. That hurt, the Marine said calmly. Then he grabbed the soldier's weapon and bent it in half. Within 10 minutes, every Korthax soldier in the area was disarmed and restrained. Not one Vellani was hurt in the rescue. Not one human was seriously injured. Elder Leary approached Sergeant Gina slowly. She sang a questioning tone. Gina's translator converted it. Are you real, or am I dreaming before death? Gina removed her helmet. Her face was young but serious. She smiled gently. We're real. We're human. We heard your call. We came to help. Leary reached out with a delicate hand and touched Gina's armor. Then she began to cry. The sound was like wind chimes in a storm. You came. You actually came. The human fleet arrived 30 hours later. 3 massive battle carriers dropped out of faster-than-light speed with 12 frigates surrounding them. Admiral Yuna's flagship, the Incheon, took position above Velis Prime. Status report, Yuna demanded. Captain Junho has secured approximately 5,000 Volani refugees in the capital city, Commander Hyejin reported. Minimal casualties. 40 Marines holding position against approximately 8,000 Korthax ground forces. Only 40 Marines? Yes, ma'am, they're doing well. Yuna pulled up the tactical display. The Korthax fleet had withdrawn to high orbit after the Teguk's demonstration. They were waiting, uncertain. Good. Fear was useful. Colonel Taiho came onto the bridge in full combat armor. Behind him, 5,000 Marines were loading into dropships. Admiral, we're ready to deploy. 3 objectives, Colonel. First, secure all Volani population centers. Second, neutralize Korthax military infrastructure. Third, capture their command structure. I want their leaders alive to stand trial. Understood. Rules of engagement? Protect the civilians. Show restraint where possible. But if Korthax forces threaten Volani lives, you are authorized to use overwhelming force. Yes, ma'am. Taiho saluted and headed to the deployment bay. Private Do-hyun stood with his squad in Dropship 7. This was his first real combat deployment. He had trained for 3 years, but training wasn't the same as reality. His hands were sweating inside his gloves. First time? The woman next to him asked. She was older, with scars on her face. Corporal Minji, a veteran of the Mars Rebellion. Yes, Do-hyun admitted. You'll be fine. Remember your training. Stay with your squad. Protect the civilians. Everything else is just details. The dropship launched with a roar. 73 ships fell from orbit, carrying humanity's answer to oppression. They hit the atmosphere, and fire bloomed around them. Then they were through, dropping toward the surface like avenging angels. On the ground, Commander Vexhal watched the human ships descend. He had withdrawn most of his forces to the industrial district, the only area with good defensive positions. His soldiers had built barricades, set up heavy weapons, prepared for a siege. How many humans? He asked his tactical officer. Approximately 5,000 landing, plus the 40 already on the ground. We have 8,000 soldiers. We have fortified positions. We have heavy weapons. We can win this. His second officer looked doubtful but said nothing. The human dropships landed in multiple locations simultaneously. Taiho coordinated the assault from his command ship. All units, move to secure civilians first. Combat is secondary priority. Save lives, then win battles. In the eastern sector, Sergeant Gina led her squad through the ruins of a Volani residential area. They found Volani hiding in basements, terrified and starving. Dr. Minho's medical teams followed close behind, treating injuries and distributing supplies. One Volani child, no bigger than a human 5-year-old, stared at Gina with huge eyes. The child sang a question that the translator converted to, "Are you here to hurt us?" Gina knelt down to the child's level. "No, we're here to protect you. You're safe now." The child's parent, a tall Volani with pale skin, sang a grateful melody. Thank you. We thought we would die here." "Not while we're here," Gina promised. She assigned 2 Marines to escort the civilians to the safe zone that Captain Junho had established. Private Do-hyun's squad reached the industrial district's edge. They could see Korthax defensive positions ahead. Barricades made from cargo containers, heavy plasma cannons on tripods, hundreds of soldiers waiting. "Contact front," his squad leader called. "Defensive positions, heavy weapons, at least 200 hostiles." Do-hyun felt his heart racing. 200 against their squad of 12. Those were terrible odds. Then he remembered what his instructor had said during training. Humans don't win because we're immortal. We win because we don't stop. "Advance by squad," the order came from Colonel Taiho. "Suppressive fire and maneuver. Remember, most Korthax will surrender if given the chance. Don't waste lives, theirs or ours. The battle started with Korthak's plasma fire. Blue bolts streaked through the air, hitting human armor. The Marines advanced steadily, their armor absorbing shots that would have killed unprotected beings. They fired back with controlled bursts from their rifles. The difference was immediately apparent. Human weapons fired solid rounds that the Korthaks couldn't stop effectively. Their barricades provided some cover, but human marksmanship was exceptional. Every shot counted. More importantly, humans didn't stop. A Marine took 3 plasma hits to his chest plate, stumbled, then kept advancing. The Korthak soldiers couldn't believe it. What kind of creature could take that much damage and keep fighting? Do-hyun's squad flanked around to the left. They moved through rubble and ruins with practiced efficiency. When a Korthak soldier popped up to fire, Do-hyun shot first. His round hit the soldier's weapon, destroying it. The soldier threw up his hands in surrender. "Secure the prisoner," Do-hyun's squad leader ordered. They zip-tied the Korthak soldier and moved him to the rear. He would be treated well. That was the human way. In the command center, Commander Vexhall watched his defensive line crumble. Humans were everywhere, moving like ghosts through the ruins. His soldiers were surrendering by the dozens. Those who fought were quickly overwhelmed. "Fall back to secondary positions," he ordered. "We need to—" An explosion rocked the building. The roof collapsed. Vexahal looked up to see a hole where the ceiling had been. A rope dropped through, and humans fast-roped down into the room. Special forces. Lightly armored, but incredibly fast. Lieutenant Yoonho led the assault team. He had trained for 15 years in special operations. This kind of surgical strike was his specialty. His team moved through the command center with practiced precision. Korthak's guards raised weapons and were disarmed before they could fire. Non-lethal whenever possible. Professional. Clean. Vexhal tried to run. Yoonho caught him in 3 strides. He pulled the Korthak's commander down gently but firmly. "Commander Vexhal, you're under arrest for war crimes against the Vellani people. You can't do this. The Korthak's Empire will learn a lesson today," Yoonho said quietly. "Don't prey on the weak when Deathworlders are watching." With their commander captured, Korthak's resistance collapsed. The second officer, Ixthar, took command and immediately ordered all forces to stand down. He had been against the invasion from the beginning. Now he had a chance to end it. He broadcast on all frequencies. "All Korthak's forces cease fire. Surrender to human forces. This war is over." Across the planet, Korthak's soldiers laid down their weapons. Some with relief, some with shame. All with the understanding that they had picked a fight with the wrong species. In a field hospital set up in the safe zone, Dr. Minho worked without stopping. Vellani physiology was delicate. Many were dying from malnutrition and shock. He had been awake for 42 hours straight, treating patients one after another. A young medic approached him. "Doctor, you need to rest. You're going to collapse." "After this patient," Minho said, carefully administering nutrients to a Vellani elder. "And the next one, and the one after that." The medic just nodded and brought him more supplies. That was the human way. You kept going until the job was done. Private Do-hyun found a Vellani child trapped under rubble. The building had collapsed during the fighting. The child was unconscious but alive. Do-hyun began moving rocks piece by piece. His armor servos whined with the effort. Rocks that weighed hundreds of kilograms. He didn't stop. 30 minutes later, he freed the child. He carried the small form 6 kilometers to the nearest field hospital, running the whole way despite his exhaustion. Dr. Minho took the child immediately. "Will she live?" Do-hyun asked. "Yes, thanks to you." Minho looked at the young private. "Good work, soldier." Do-hyun felt something swell in his chest. Pride, purpose. This was why he had joined the military. Not to kill, but to save. 72 hours after the main assault began, Velis Prime was secure. Korthak's forces had surrendered. Vellani civilians were being treated and fed. The planet was free. Human casualties, 47 wounded, 3 dead when a building collapsed during fighting. Korthak's casualties, 2,847 dead, 6,000 captured. Villani lives saved, approximately 4,000. Admiral Yuna stood on the surface for the first time, looking at the ruins of the Villani capital. It would take years to rebuild, but at least now they had the chance. Colonel Tejo approached and saluted. Mission complete, Admiral. Planet secured. Good work, Colonel. How are the troops? Exhausted but proud. They did well, especially the new ones. He smiled slightly. Private Do-hyun carried a wounded Villani child 6 kilometers. Didn't stop once. Give him a commendation. Give all of them commendations. They earned it. Elder Leary approached slowly. She sang a long, complex melody. The translator took a moment to process it. I do not have words in any language to thank you properly. You saved us when no one else would. You fought for us when we could not fight for ourselves. The Villani will never forget this. We will tell our children's children about the day the Deathworlders came to save us. Yuna felt uncomfortable with the praise but accepted it gracefully. We did what anyone should have done. We just had the strength to do it. No, Leary sang firmly. Others had strength. The Council had strength. They chose not to use it. You chose differently. That makes all the difference. In orbit, the Korthak's fleet waited nervously. They expected to be destroyed. Instead, Admiral Yuna sent them a simple message. Take your wounded and go home. Tell your empire what happened here. Tell them that humanity will not tolerate oppression. Tell them that the weak now have defenders. And if your empire chooses to seek revenge, remember how this ended. Remember that we showed mercy when we could have shown none. The Korthak's fleet departed slowly, carrying their defeated soldiers and their captured commander. They would indeed tell their empire what happened. And the story would spread. The story of how humanity, the Death World species everyone feared, had crossed 40 light years to save people they had never met. How they had fought with overwhelming force but shown mercy at every opportunity. How they had turned the tide of history with 40 Marines and the will to act. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson. Deathworlders weren't just dangerous. They were also the most reliable friends you could hope for. 6 months had passed since the liberation of Velis Prime. The Galactic Council chamber was packed with representatives from 200 species, all gathered for an emergency session. At the center of the controversy stood humanity. The Council Arbiter, a being named Thelon from a neutral species, called the session to order. His voice was amplified across the massive chamber. We are here to address the actions of humanity in the Velis Prime incident. The human military engaged Korthak's forces without Council authorization. Several member species have called for sanctions. Admiral Yuna stood at the human delegation's position. She wore her formal uniform, crisp and clean. Next to her stood Sora from the Diplomatic Corps and Captain Junho. They were calm, ready for whatever came. A representative from the Korthak's empire stood first. He was not Commander Vexhall, who was currently awaiting trial for war crimes. This was a political officer trying to spin the disaster into something salvageable. The humans attacked unprovoked. They destroyed our ships, killed our soldiers, occupied a planet we had legally claimed. This is aggression. This is war. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many species nodded in agreement. Humanity was new to the Council. Dangerous. This seemed to confirm their worst fears about Deathworlders. Then Admiral Yuna spoke. Her voice was clear and strong. We attacked nothing unprovoked. We responded to a distress call, a call that everyone in this chamber heard, a call that you all chose to ignore. The situation was classified as a territorial dispute, another representative argued. The Council voted not to intervene. You voted to abandon innocent people to death and slavery, Yuna said flatly. You chose politics over lives. We chose differently. You had no authority. We had moral authority. We had the strength to act, and we had the will to do what was right, even if it was difficult. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species supported humanity. Others condemned them. The noise was deafening. Arbiter Thelon called for silence. We will hear testimony from the Villani people. Elder Leary, please approach. The chamber fell silent as Elder Leary walked to the central platform. She had gained weight since the liberation. Human food and medicine had restored her health. But her eyes still held memories of suffering. She began to sing. Her translator converted the musical language to words everyone could understand. 6 months ago, my people were dying. The Korthax came to our world with weapons and greed. They killed those who resisted. They enslaved our children. They stripped our planet of resources. We sent distress calls to everyone. We begged for help. Her voice grew stronger. The council heard us. Every species here heard us. And you voted to do nothing. You called it a territorial dispute. As if our lives, our children, our future meant nothing. As if we were just property to be claimed. She turned to face the Korthax representative. For months we died. Every day, more of my people were murdered or worked to death. We lost hope. We sang our death songs. We prepared to be forgotten. Then she turned to Admiral Yuna. And then they came. Humans. A species we had never heard of. From a planet so dangerous it kills its own children. They heard our call. They crossed 40 light years. They fought an empire to save strangers. Leary's voice broke with emotion. When their soldiers came, I thought they would be monsters. Everyone says Deathworlders are violent, savage, dangerous. But do you know what they did? They protected us. They fed us. They treated our wounded. They worked for days without rest to save my people. They showed mercy to enemies who deserved none. She looked around the chamber. The humans have 3 dead soldiers, 3 of their people who died to save mine. They are building a monument on Velis Prime with their names. We will honor those names forever. Because they prove something this council has forgotten. Strength without compassion is tyranny, but strength with compassion is heroism. The chamber was absolutely silent. Many representatives looked uncomfortable, some looked ashamed. Arbiter Thelen spoke quietly. The council will now hear evidence from our investigation team. Commander Heejin stepped forward with data files. Our investigation confirmed Elder Leary's testimony. The Korthax Empire has been conducting illegal military expansion for 17 years. They have conquered 6 systems, enslaved 3 species, and committed systematic atrocities. The council knew. Multiple reports were filed. All were classified as territorial disputes to avoid conflict. That's classified information, someone shouted. It was classified, Heejin agreed. We declassified it. Because the galaxy deserves to know the truth. The council chose political convenience over moral responsibility for 17 years. The arguments started again, louder this time. But Arbiter Thelen could see the tide turning. The evidence was damning. Humanity had done what the council should have done years ago. This session is adjourned, Thelen announced. We will vote tomorrow on appropriate measures. That night, something unexpected happened. Representatives from 7 different species visited the human delegation privately. They were quiet, almost embarrassed. A representative from the Mirathi people spoke first. Admiral, our world is also under threat. The Zung Collective is demanding resources and territory. They have ships. We don't. The council says it's a dispute. We say it's invasion. Would humanity consider helping us? Yuna looked at the desperate alien faces. She saw fear and hope mixed together. Send us the details. We'll review your situation. More came. Species being extorted. Species facing violence. Species the council had abandoned. By morning, humanity had received 17 requests for help. Sora looked overwhelmed. Admiral, we can't fight the entire galaxy's battles. We don't have the resources. The political fallout would be... I know, Yuna said quietly. But we can help some of them. And maybe that starts something. Maybe other species will see what we're doing and decide to help too. The council vote came the next day. No sanctions against humanity. Instead, a formal censure of the Korthax Empire and an investigation into council procedures. It wasn't much, but it was something. More importantly, several species approached Earth with defense pacts. They wanted allies who would actually fight for them. Humanity's reputation was changing from dangerous outsiders to reliable defenders. On Velis Prime, construction was well underway. Human engineers worked alongside Volani architects to rebuild the capital city. The design combined human practicality with Volani artistic beauty. It would be something new, something better. Private Dohyun, now Corporal Dohyun, trained a group of Volani volunteers. The Volani could never be frontline soldiers. Their bodies were too fragile, but they had brilliant minds for strategy and logistics. Combined with human physical capability, they made an effective team. Remember, Dohyun told his students, strength isn't just physical, it's knowing when to fight and when to talk. It's protecting those who can't protect themselves. That's what being a soldier really means. A young Volani student sang a question. Why did humans decide to help us? What did you gain? Dohyun thought about that for a long moment. My grandfather used to say that the strong should protect the weak, not because they gained something, but because it's the right thing to do. We helped you because you needed help. That's reason enough. Dr. Minho published his research on cross-species medical treatment. His paper became required reading at medical schools across the galaxy. He showed that with proper understanding, species could help each other in ways previously thought impossible. His work saved countless lives. Sergeant Gina took command of a new program, the Intervention Corps, a unit specifically trained for humanitarian rescue operations. Volunteers flooded in from across human space. Everyone wanted to be part of something meaningful. Captain Junho returned to patrol duty aboard the Taeguk, now designated as the flagship of humanity's humanitarian fleet. His crew had grown. 20 Volani served aboard as communication specialists and cultural advisors. It was the first integrated crew in Earth's military. Lieutenant Hana continued monitoring distress calls. There were so many. Some they could help, some they couldn't. Each one weighed on her, but she kept listening. Someone had to. Admiral Yuna stood in the memorial park on Velis Prime. The monument to the 3 fallen humans was simple but beautiful, their names carved in stone, surrounded by Volani crystal sculptures that sang softly in the wind. Commander Jackson, Lieutenant Park, Private Lee. She read the names aloud. They died so others could live. That's the highest honor any soldier can achieve. Elder Leary joined her. We have a saying in our language. It translates roughly to, the light that burns, brightest is remembered longest. Your people burn very bright, Admiral. We try. We don't always succeed, but we try. That's all anyone can ask. Leary sang a gentle melody. The galaxy is changing because of you. Other species are starting to help each other more. They see what you did and they feel ashamed of their inaction. You shamed them into being better. 6 months later, aboard the Taeguk, Junho received another distress call. The Marathi people. Their world was under attack. The council had once again voted not to intervene. Politics before lives. Junho looked at his crew, humans and Volani working together. He thought about the 17 other requests for help waiting at Earth. He thought about the galaxy full of species who needed defenders. Lieutenant Hana, send a message back to the Marathi. Tell them help is coming. Yes, sir. Should I inform Earth? Of course, they'll probably send reinforcements. He smiled slightly. We're going to be busy for a while. Dr. Minho came onto the bridge. Another rescue mission? Another rescue mission. Good. I was getting bored anyway. Minho pulled up medical files on Marathi biology. Let's see what we're working with this time. The Taeguk changed course. Behind them, 2 more human ships fell into formation. The humanitarian fleet was small, but it was growing. Other species were starting to contribute ships and supplies. The idea was spreading. In the Korthax Empire, the story of Velis Prime was told in whispers. How an empire's might had been crushed by a single species from a death world. How mercy had been shown when vengeance would have been justified. The story changed minds. It changed policies. The empire never invaded another world again. Across the galaxy, the phrase "Deathworlders don't ignore cries for help" became common. It was said with respect, not fear. It meant that someone would answer when you called. Someone would fight for you, if you couldn't fight for yourself. Earth's council representatives received an unusual gift, a collection of songs from 50 different species, each one a thank you. Each one a story of how humanity had helped them or inspired them to help others. The collection was titled, The Cry Answered. Admiral Yuna listened to the songs in her office late at night. Some were beautiful, some were sad, all of them were genuine. She thought about the path humanity had chosen. Not conquerors, not merchants, defenders, protectors. It was the right path even if it was difficult. Her communicator beeped. Colonel Tejo's face appeared. Admiral, we have a situation. The Drell people are under attack by pirates. They're requesting assistance. How many ships can we send? I have a battalion ready to deploy in 6 hours. Do it. And Tejo? Make sure we send medical supplies and construction equipment too. We're not just fighting their battles, we're helping them rebuild. Understood, ma'am. The communication ended. Yuna looked out her window at Earth below. Beautiful and deadly. The planet that had forged humanity into what they were. Strong enough to fight, wise enough to show mercy, stubborn enough to keep trying even when it was hard. She thought about all the species out there who needed help, all the battles yet to be fought, all the lives to be saved. It was overwhelming. But humanity had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. They could handle this too. In the memorial park on Velis Prime, a new name was added to the monument. Lieutenant Chen, killed in action while defending the Marathi homeworld. The Villani sang a song for him, a song of honor and remembrance. More names would be added. More humans would fall protecting others. But for every name on that monument, thousands of lives were saved. Families kept together, children given futures, worlds given hope. That was the human way. Not because it was easy, not because it was profitable, but because when someone cried for help, Deathworlders answered in force. And the galaxy was better for it. The Teguk jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading toward the Marathi system. Behind it, the stars shone cold and distant. But somewhere in that darkness, someone was calling for help. And somewhere, humanity was answering. Always answering.